10th cranial nerve.
is your
Just
vagus nerve.
roughly, where are we talking? Where's this thing run?
I think I know 11th is glossal. So it's back here in your neck somewhere. Because I know, like with some of the psych patients, we swap them back there to help trigger the vagus nerve. It unharshes your mellow, you know. Yeah, it's your vagus nerve. It does some parasympathetic firing. So it has two branches. An older branch, which kind of sends you into really like limbic lizard brain type behavior, fight, flight, faint, fight, flight, freeze, depending on who you're talking to. But it's not your social adaptive. Now the ventral branch allows you to do what females in a lot of species do when they're stressed, is what they call instead of fight or flight, they do tend and befriend, which is a more collaborative, grooming, picking nits off each other if we're dealing with rhesus monkeys or whatever. You know, basically the ventral response is much better. Now, another thing that goes with the dorsal response is the vagus nerve controls your facial expressions and your micro expressions, which are your subconscious expressions. The way you can tell, like the way you pick up empathy from someone is subconsciously. When they smile, you subconsciously simulate the smile, even if you know you're kind of holding it. And when that part is, when your vagus nerve has fired off into fight, flight, freeze, you're not mimicking their expression. So you're looking kind of frozen, and you know there's that dead look, and you lose that that's kind of synchrony, that attunement with them. You're not able to do the empathy calculation that usually you would do by looking at someone else's face, by running the software yourself, and so you're socially disconnected. So yeah, that's pretty much polyvagal. It's your social, all your social functioning, your creativity, your empathy, your generosity, all the human elements shut down.
A little deeper though, Manny, because everything else we've talked about this week, we've talked about networks, right?
Yeah.
Parts of the brain working together to create some sort of systemic function.
Yep.
Now you're telling me that we're just talking about a nerve, and you're telling me it's responsible for all these things. So give me a little more about like what it's got to be connecting to something, right? Like
yeah, your fight or flight system runs through your locus coeruleus norepinephrine system, and that's the system that kicks the norepinephrine, which is also known as noradrenaline. That's kicking off your whole adrenaline cascade. When you're dealing with fight or flight, you're also going to get your HPA axis, your hypothalamo pituitary axis, which is your stress axis. So it's a signaling system. So when you go into sympathetic mode, there's a whole stress cascade. You're going to get your cortisol spiking. You're going to get the adrenals kicking. The whole system signals off of sympathetic, parasympathetic. Locus coeruleus norepinephrine, that whole pathway is mediated by exercise, meditation. That's where a lot of that kicks in. So it allows that system to be less likely to be triggered as quickly, because once that system kicks in, your heart beats faster, and you get respiratory system arrhythmia, respiratory sinus arrhythmia, RSA. Sometimes I just memorize the letters because there's a lot of data going in. RSA, and RSA and heart rate variability, which we discussed a little while back, which is why you want to be doing the breathing. You do the slow, steady breathing, and it slows your heart rate down, and it sends a signal to your brain that you're not in a stressed way. Because
this is interesting. So I've been searching while you're talking, because I knew I put you on the spot, and maybe it wasn't fair when I asked you where it was.
Yeah.
And I searched it, and I found a picture. It runs right up your carotid, which now, with what you're saying about respiratory stuff and heart rate stuff, that totally makes sense, right? That it's aligned with, the system, literally. That's cool. And of course, stress, like heart rate, breathing,
Yep.
all connected.
Yep. Yep. That's why you want to do the breathing. When you're stressed, return to the breathing, because the breathing will slow down the heart rate. And your breathing, like changing your pH by controlling your breathing, getting that air in there, you'll end up you'll decrease the vagal tone. You'll improve your vagal tone in the short term. Exercise also does that, because exercise and meditation increase your heart rate variability tolerance, which is the definition of resilience, by the way.
Say that again.
High frequency heart rate variability is like the measure of resilience. Like if you have good vagal tone, that means your sympathetic and parasympathetic system can, like your sympathetic can kick off, and I could be like, boo, startle the crap out of you. And then your body will return back to baseline quicker. Because when you're at high level like that, your cortisol is bubbling through your blood. Your immune system is not working as effectively. You're stressed. With the cortisol there, sugar is being dumped into your blood system for rapid use. Your liver is doing gluconeogenesis. All these things are not what you want to be doing all the time. You want to shut that system down. Yeah. And your high frequency heart rate variability is a measure of how quickly your body is able to go from fight, flight to chill out. It was nothing. With anxiety, you end up constantly in that state of low-level inflammation. With depression, you end up with low-level inflammation. And a concept that's important here is allostatic load. When you're stressed, you keep a stress load. When your stress load gets to a certain amount, you're gonna go ahead and die. It's when your stress load hits a certain amount, you get your asthma kicks in, you get immunocompromised responses, you get hyperimmune responses, you get like rashes. What else? You get bowel issues, because your immune system is, all those cytokines are a way of your body signaling how you're doing overall.
Yeah. Polyvagal theory.
Yeah, man.
I've learned so much this week. It's been really, really cool. So that does wrap us up. We covered the default mode network. We covered the central attention network.
Central executive, CEN.
Executive network, that's right.
Yeah.
We covered default mode network, the central executive network, the dorsal attention network, and now polyvagal theory, and I'm missing one. What else did we cover?
That's 4.
Yeah, we did 5. Video. Default mode network. Right after default mode network, the central executive, I think, was the 3rd one that we did.
Yep. I can look. It's been quite a week, dude.
We covered a lot of stuff this week, and I think what's worth, I just want to sort of recap.
Salience network. Salience network.
Salience network. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we covered the default mode network, and then we sort of how about this? I was reflecting on this earlier. So default mode network, and then I feel, and again, a lot of what I do with you is oversimplifying, but salience network, central executive network, and dorsal attention network, sort of the yang to the yin there, right? A little. Because you've got all this sort of
the dorsal attention
default mode. I'm ruminating. I'm thinking internally, and then those other things that kick me out of that.
Yeah,
right?
They're the task positive network
that switch me out of that. Yeah. So that was kind of and to me, I mean, I know that that's probably not the best way to think about it, but to me, it brought a sense of balance of like, okay, sometimes I spend my time here, but these other things bring me out of that, and not one is better than the other. That's just what I need. And now we wrap up with this polyvagal theory that brings back again the theme of mindfulness, that across all these things we've talked about, if you want to learn to feel more in control of yourself and your life and these responses, all of them consistently practicing mindfulness
And returning to the breathing.
and returning to the breathing brings you a way to get more aware of what you're experiencing, more aware of what you might need to deal with whatever it is that you're experiencing, you know, just raising a sort of inner awareness of what's going on for yourself and helping you get a little bit better handle on these systems.
Yep.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Well, that concludes our 15-part video series
That's insane.
on brain stuff. Manny Cyanide gets the apple. If we had a teacher here, she would definitely give her apple to him. Or maybe I'm the student and he can be the teacher, because that's what he's definitely done for us, and I would give him an apple. He's earned it. Thank you so much for doing it.
I guess I'll take your apple, Paul.
You can take the apple. That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you. I had a whole visual differently set, because I thought Snow White was bringing me an apple, but yeah, metaphors are plenty.
So you guys leave some comments. Ask some follow-up questions, and engage with us at hypnoticthoughts.com. We've got a lot more great stuff coming your way, but this was a pretty big undertaking for us and a very worthwhile one, and we're glad to do it. But I think we're going to come back to a lot of this stuff over and over and over again because of the role that they play, and Manny's done a great job of starting to get us to understand that. So lots more to talk about still.